Ross, it happens only once every 2 years. The International Book Fair in Jerusalem brings together hundreds of publishers, famous writers, and of course, books. Our culture correspondent Maya Margit went to check it out and spoke to this year's recipient of the Jerusalem Prize. His monumental autobiography has generated controversy and headlines around the world.
Reading, writing, and tens of thousands of books. At the Jerusalem International Book Fair, hundreds of publishers and authors have come together to show their works. And many stars on the global literary scene are also here, like Karl Ove Knausgaard, a Norwegian writer whose books have been published all over the world. He won this year's prestigious Jerusalem Prize, an award handed out every 2 years to outstanding authors from around the globe.
I think Jerusalem Prize is probably the best prize in the world. If you see the list of who have received the prize before, it's an impressive list. It's many of my favorite writers are on that list, so it's a very great honor for me to be on that list. It's a bit embarrassing too, because I can't compare myself with anyone on that list.
He also says his fascination with Israel started at a young age.
In a country like Norway, Israel was very present at school, for instance. We would teach the stories from the Old Testament with a map in the classroom with the biblical Israel on it. Being here physically is very different, and I'm very happy I was able to come and to see it with my own eyes.
Knausgaard shot to international fame with a 6-volume autobiographical series, provocatively titled My Struggle or Mein Kampf. But you shouldn't judge this book by its cover.
I wanted it to be about my father and my father's death, which happened like 10 years before. And it made such a great impression on me on many, many levels. And I started writing it as fiction, and I didn't believe in it because it wasn't true. In the end, I was so frustrated. I thought, to hell with literature, to hell with style, to hell with reflections. I just write it as it is.
But the candor which made My Struggle such a hit also came with major pitfalls. Several of Knausgaard's relatives cut off all contact with him, furious over the airing of family secrets, like his father's descent into alcoholism.
When I did this, starting to write about my own life, I thought, okay, this is so private, nobody would be interested. It took everybody by surprise that it kind of exploded the way it did, first in Norway and then also abroad.
The English version of the final book will be out in the fall of next year. In the meantime, fans have the chance to meet Knausgaard and other writers in person at the literary fair in Jerusalem. Definitely something for the books.
And I-24 News culture correspondent Maya Margit joins us now. Hi, Maya.
Hi.
So you were there. Tell us a bit about the fair and what people can do there and how long it's running.
So the fair it happens only once every 2 years, the international part of the fair. And this year it's happening in conjunction with Hebrew Book Week. So they kind of put the two together, the local and the international. People can go for workshops. There's lectures, you can have meetings with your favorite writers. There's some very, very famous writers participating, like Philippe Claudel, Sasha Batiani, Deborah Lipstadt, another very interesting writer who's gotten a lot of publicity and has been featured in a movie even.
Wow.
So you have some very famous people. It's only going on until Thursday night, unfortunately. For those who are here in the area in Jerusalem, they can go and check it out. Definitely worth checking out. And the Jerusalem Prize, I just want to mention, is a very prestigious award, even though it only has a $10,000 cash kind of prize to it, but it's a symbolic amount. And past recipients include Mario Vargas-Llosa, Haruki Murakami, and Susan Sontag, so some very famous writers. So I think that's why Carla was very proud to have received it.
Yeah, so tell us more about him. He comes from Norway. You interviewed him there in that report,
Yes.
and he was the winner of this prize this year.
Yes, he was the winner of the prize, and he's been compared to Marcel Proust for In Search of Lost Time. Listen, this biography is in 6 parts because it's 3,600 pages.
Oh, what?
The last part of the biography is coming out next year.
There's another part?
There's another part. The 6th part is coming out next year in English. It's come out in other languages as well, 30 languages to be exact. And every 10th person in Norway has this book. He's very, very famous.
Very
and I think that's because he goes into all these details. He talks about changing diapers. He talks about about everyday chores, and it's very different from other autobiographies.
And what about the title there? Because we heard
Yeah.
it in the report. My Struggle, is it like a Hitler reference? What is this?
There definitely is a Hitler reference. I asked him about that because, you know, in German it's Mein Kampf, in Norwegian it's Min Kamp. So there is a definite connection there, and it is intentional. I asked him about it. He said originally he had a different title, but a friend, when they were reading, they were talking about Mein Kampf, and that's how they came up with the title for the book. And apparently in the last section of the book, he does talk about the rise of right-wing nationalism in Europe, Anders Breivik, all these different things happening. So there is some kind of connection to Hitler, but the last book hasn't yet come out in English, so we have to wait and see what happens, basically,
We'll have to
find
wait for
out.
that, however many pages it will be. Maya, thank you so
Exactly.
much for this.